biggest challenges. Here's one woman's inspiring story. Please watch this.
My name is Denis. I'm 34 years old, and I'm a two-time stroke survivor. In 2012, my life was great. I had just moved back from living in California to start my new life in Toronto, and then I had a stroke. The first stroke happened over the Christmas holidays. I started experiencing massive headaches and shooting pains up and down my entire body. And then I started slurring my speech, so we knew something was off, but we didn't know what. And when we went to the hospital to get a CT scan, and that's where they discovered a 2-centimeter mass in my brain. After they discovered the mass in my brain, the doctors sent me to Toronto Western Hospital, where they did repetitive testing on me, everything you can imagine from spinal taps, angiograms, CTs, ECG, EEG, to try to figure out why I had a mass in my brain. There was no definitive answer as to why I had a mass in my brain, so I was sent home. After they sent me home, I had a lovely dinner with my family, but the next day I woke up and I couldn't feel my right arm, and I knew something was off, so we went right back to the ER department, and that's where I started experiencing convulsions, and pretty rapidly thereafter I fell unconscious. The MRI discovered that I was having a rupture, and the pressure in my brain was building up at such a rapid rate that they needed to perform emergency brain surgery on me. My emergency brain surgery happened on January 7th, 2013, which was the same day I was supposed to start my brand new job in Toronto. After my surgery, I woke up. I noticed I was in a very dark room. It was a very small room, and I noticed I couldn't say anything. I couldn't ask a question. I didn't know why I couldn't speak. I couldn't feel my body, and I noticed there was tubes and wires coming out of me everywhere. And I didn't have the ability to ask any questions because I couldn't speak. After 4 weeks, I wiggled my toes for the very first time. After 6 weeks, I said my very first word, which was teeth. I was moved to Toronto Rehab Institute. When I arrived at the rehab facility, I was basically at my starting point. I was an infant. I had to relearn how to talk, how to move, how to walk. Before my stroke, I was a runner. I had done 6 half marathons. My therapist knew I wanted to run again. That's always been a goal for me. So it was daily progress, learning how to stand up on my own, how to walk with a cane, how to start jogging again. But it was that daily goals of these tiny little steps in order for me to be able to run a half marathon. I achieved my goal, which was running my 7th half marathon 10 months after my strokes. I ran half marathon to prove that I was the same person. The stroke hadn't taken anything away from me. It's now been 6 years after my strokes. In that 6 years, I decided to leave corporate life and am now a motivational speaker and author. I became a motivational speaker because I want to help other people overcome their challenges. My 2 strokes have taught me that when your mind and body work together, you can achieve anything.
Please welcome Denis, everybody. Surviving Myself is the name of the book. How an eating disorder, a car crash, and a stroke taught me how to love my life and finally live it. What do you hope that people get from this book?
I want to show people that have felt like me, which I've always felt different and alone, and just wish someone understood what I was feeling. And when you read that book, I hope it feels like kind of a trusting friend, and you realize that you can overcome everything if you put your mind to it.
Your brother had a stroke when he was a kid? Is that my understanding? No, your brother did,
had a stroke when he was 10 years old.
Tell us about that.
Person.
Yeah.
We don't usually think of young people like Dina or my brother at 10 years old having a stroke.
10 years old.
You know, so
how old were you at the time?
I was 15.
And what happened to you? Were you near him when that happened?
I was, yeah. We were on a family vacation. He had a massive stroke, and you know, he had to learn how to walk again and talk again, so I can, still relate to your story and how devastating it can be as a family. But also, it sort of inspired me to really help people know how powerful the brain is, that it can rewire itself, that we can heal, and also the power of hope for all of us.
How did it affect you as a kid? You're 15 years old, your brother has a stroke.
It was really, really devastating for our family. They told us he would never be able to live an independent life. I can tell you today that he is living an independent life.
Yes.
That's
great.
For me, I know we started talking about healthy eating, and during the break you asked me, well, you've always been thin, and there was a time I didn't always used to eat salmon salads. I used to drink about 9 or 10 sodas a day, and I was sort of this food addict because of the stress.
Because of the stress of your brother.
It was really hard for me. My face looked different. When you're pounding 4,000 or 5,000 calories or more a day because of that stress. So I had to really learn those principles as well.
Is that why you got into the business that you're in right now because of your brother?
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, we want to talk about what a stroke is. Let's talk about that.
Yes.
I know, Dina, you could talk about this forever, but we say the word stroke, but what is it, Mike?
So a stroke is when, basically, it's a brain attack, right? So it's when brain cells die. So it can happen when the arteries narrow and a clot forms, or it can also happen when there's a bleed or when blood vessels rupture. That is a stroke.
And we now know that it can happen at any age.
It can.
Right.
So that's
very rare for a young person.
Very rare for a child as young as 10. In my brother's case, it was a very, very rare brain disease. But Marilyn, what has changed and what I want people to know is that we are seeing younger people having more strokes. So people in their middle-aged people, younger adults having strokes, and that is because remember that the risk factors for stroke are lifestyle related. So diet, exercise or lack of exercise, stress, right? High blood pressure, smoking. And if they're lifestyle related, it means it's not just age that affects your risk for having a stroke.
It's how you live your life.
It's how you live your life. So you could be 40, 30 and have a stroke.
Now, your risk factors were?
Well, I had no risk factors, but it's only after writing the book that I discovered that I had placed so much stress and pressure on myself for so long that I don't know the definitive cause, but I believe that stress was a contributing factor, and so much so that I've always taken care of my physical well-being. I love that.
You're a runner. You did that.
I love it. But now, every day, I place the same emphasis on my mental health because it is so important. Things like meditation, taking a walk to clear my mind, expressing gratitude.
And you weren't doing that before at all.
I was go, go, go.
Go, run, go.
Everything, moving countries, and that is not healthy, and I stopped doing that.
Let's talk about symptoms for a stroke. Let's review this now.
Everybody needs to know the acronym FAST.
Yes.
I couldn't smile on one side. I couldn't feel it.
Wow.
And my sister noticed it, and it looked like horror in her eyes.
Yes, right.
She was like, wow.
What's happening?
Yeah.
And then S is speech.
S is speech. So ask someone to say something very simple, or if you notice any slurred speech or they sound strange, that could be a sign of a stroke. And then this is the most important one, time. They say time is brain. What does that mean? It means that every minute that passes is vital.
Right.
You want to call 911, get yourself to the emergency room, get your loved one to the emergency room immediately, because the most effective treatments for stroke, some of them must be given within hours of a stroke, right? So time is brain, and brain cells are dying every single minute. So we want to make sure that treatment is given as soon as possible.
And sometimes we think a stroke, we think it's going to happen fast. It's not that way.
No, not always.
Every story is very, very different. So the misconception post-stroke, what did you want to share with us, Mike?
And this was something that a doctor told us, and this was not true for my brother at all.
Okay.
That 6 months after your stroke, all of your progress is going to be over. And where you are 6 months after your stroke that's where you're going to be for the rest of your life. If my family and my brother would have believed that, my brother is leaps and bounds where he was, 6 months after his stroke.
Yeah.
People can now recover so much. There's so much hope. And, the other thing that I want to tell people is that, yes, in the beginning, you're going to have speech therapy and occupational therapy, physical therapy in the hospital. But after a while, life becomes the therapy. And that's true for all of us, not just for stroke survivors.
Right.
Because everything that we do every single day is rewiring, is training our brains. So after a while, it was my brother's order at some restaurant with a waiter or a waitress or a server that was training his brain, and that was the therapy. You had that experience too, yes?
Yeah, I was told the same thing, and I had to block it out, or my anxiety would go through the roof again. But I realized, I remember most of my therapy happened with my speech therapist, for example, and I just started to form sentences, but I sounded like a robot. And so I was very comfortable with my therapist and my family, but when I went out into the real world, I was scared that I would sound
robotic.
Yeah, and I remember the first time I went out, my sister just grabbed my hand and she whispered, she was like, "You just practice your heart out." And I did, and I didn't care anymore. I was like, every time I work, it's rewiring, making my brain better.
That's the best therapy right there.
Yeah.
Dina, I'm so glad that you came to the show today. Thank you for your inspiring story. And Mike, we always love having you with us. Thanks to all of you. And thanks to Dina. You're all going to go home with her book, Survive.